Achilles is doing it, this in front of the gods and everybody, even for Hector's mom to see, and his father, um, who gave an agonizing groan. Around them, all the people in the city began to keen and groan. It was as if the whole of dark browed Troy was set ablaze up to its highest peak. The people scarcely restrained old Priam in his eagerness to rush outside of the Scaean gates. He rolled around in dung and begged them all, calling each by name. It's just so, it's very dramatic. But then Priam is going to plea, and then Hecuba is going to plea, having seen their son be grabbed and like pierced by the ankles and just dragged around the end of a chariot like roadkill. But then we get to the part that I always have a hard time keeping it together. So bear with me. We get to what I think is the saddest part of this entire book on page 271. That all the while the battle was going on, whatever Achilles does to Hector's body, and then hearing the pleas, Andromache wasn't there. And as we remember, Andromache from book 6, Andromache is Hector's wife. So if you go to page 271, starting around line 581, we get to see what's been going on with Andromache and how she learns of her husband's death. So the text says, the wife of Hector so far still knew nothing. No messenger had come to bring the news that he had stayed outside beyond the gates. Up in an inner chamber of the house, she wove a double-layered purple cloth, and in it stitched elaborate designs. So she was doing exactly what Hector asked her to do, is to mind her mind with her stitching. She called the house slaves with their braided hair to heat a mighty tripod on the fire so that the washing water would be hot for Hector when he back home from battle. So she's minding her stitching, and she was putting together a bath for Hector. And that's why she wasn't there on the wall to watch this duel. Poor fool. She did not know that very far away from any bath, he was already dead. Bright-eyed Athena, through Achilles' hands, had brought him down. Then from the wall she heard keening and groans of grief, and her body trembled. She dropped her shuttle to the ground and called again to the woman slaves with braided hair and told them, hurry, 2 of you come with me so I can see what happened. I have heard the voice of noble Hecuba. Inside me, my heart is jumping to my mouth. My legs are paralyzed. Some trouble must be near the sons of Priam. Let my ears not hear it. I have a dreadful fear that great Achilles has intercepted Hector by himself and driven him from the city to the plain and robbed him of the ruinous rash courage that once possessed him, that caused so much pain. He never stayed among the massive troops. He always hurtled far ahead, aggressive, and giving way to no one. So she knows in her gut what happened. The same man who killed so much of her family has likely gotten his hands on her husband too. Then it says, so she spoke and dashed all through the palace like a Maenaid, which is kind of like it's a Dionysus term. So maybe if you look back at your god for all of your gods, Dionysus is the god of theater. And they would have these great big festivals, and the way that they would dance at these festivals is usually pretty frenzied and ecstatic in their worship of Dionysus. And so a Maenaid is somebody who would be worshiping in this frenzied manner Dionysus, and it almost seems like it's wild. So Andromache is dashing around the palace, just kind of like a wild woman. And if you turn to page 272, she's got a pounding heart. Her women slaves ran with her. She reached the wall and crowd of men and stood high on the battlements to look for him. She saw him being dragged before the city, dragged to the hollow ships by running horses who took no care to tend him properly. Then black night veiled her eyes. It's a shock. So that's the image that she sees. Imagine how traumatic that would be. She toppled backward and breathed her spirit out. She tossed away the shining knotted headdress from her head, the circlet veil, well braided band, and scarf that golden Aphrodite gave to her the day that Hector of the glittering helmet paid lavish bridal gifts to lead her off in marriage from the house of Etienne. So she was wearing this headdress that was a symbol of her marriage to Hector, and as soon as she saw that in her trauma, it flew off. It's kind of like a symbol that their marriage is over. Andromache was stunned as if to death. The women of her husband's family clustered round her and held her in the midst. When she had caught her breath and woken up, she raised her voice to sing in lamentation among the women and the girls of Troy. And this lamentation is incredibly famous. Lots of different translations do this differently, and it's kind of like this finishing touch to me out of all of the translations that I've read of the Iliad as to how well they can translate. And I believe Emily Wilson did a great job with her translation of this particular lamentation by Andromache for her husband. And she says this: Hector, my life is over. You and I were both born for this self-same destiny. You were born here in Troy in Priam's house, but I was raised in Thebes underneath the forest of Mount Placus, and my father, Etienne, cared for me when I was little. His luck was bad, but mine was ruination. If only he had never had a daughter. Now you have gone beneath the depths of earth into the house of Hades, and you leave me in bitter grief, a widow in your halls. Our son is still a little baby, born to such unlucky parents, you and me. You will not help him now that you're dead, Hector, nor will he you. If he escapes this world of tears, this war against the Greeks, trouble and pain will be with him forever. Others will seize his lands. A father's death deprives a child of all companionship. In need, he will approach his father's comrades and tug one of the cloak or by the tunic. They pity him, and somebody may give him a tiny sip, enough to wet his lips, but not his throat. A boy with living parents will drive the orphan from the feast and use his fist to strike him and his tongue to curse, "Get out! Your father does not dine with us." Back to his widowed mother comes the child, Astyanax, who once in early times sat on his father's lap and only ate marrow and luscious mutton fat. And when he finished with his fun and games and sleep seized him, he used to sleep on a soft bed, held in his nurse's arms, with his heart full of happiness. But now he will endure terrible suffering without his father, the boy to whom the Trojans gave the title Astyanax, master of the city. You were the only one who could protect the gates and towering walls of Troy for him. Far from your parents now, beside the ships, the writhing worms are nibbling you. The dogs will soon be glutted with your naked body. Naked, although at home you have so many beautiful, delicate clothes, the work of women. I will burn all of them in a blazing fire. They are no good to you. You cannot wear them. But this will bring you glory from the people of Troy, both men and women. So she spoke and wept. The other women wailed in answer. Whole big bunch that she's been held in, and then kind of lets it out, and kind of tells the truth. I wish I could tell you that Astyanax will make it, but in the lore surrounding the war, he won't. There's stories, and the largest one that I've read, the one that you hear the most, is that he will be thrown from the walls of Troy to fall to his death as a baby. Andromache knew what would happen. And it's pretty obvious now, maybe who I care for the most in this epic. And every time I read it, I just know it's going to be so hard for me to get back to a place where I can feel anything for Achilles after what he's done here. But this is the challenge of the epic for us because we must face this great tragedy and this great feeling, I think, to learn the ultimate lessons from this story and kind of do it in tandem with the way that Achilles will. So, in sum, Book 22 gives us kind of the climax of the Iliad and its central conflict. And while this whole scene makes for great cinema, we have experienced profound tragedy together in this reading. Hector emerges as this noble, sympathetic character more than ever because he faces death with dignity. His loving family is wrecked as a result. And then we see Achilles in his rage that it makes him unstoppable, but less human in this last picture of book 22. So in a single duel, Homer asks us to weigh what it means to be heroic. And we've got two different pictures right now, and what's its cost. And we've still got a lot to lose. And we've got one more book left, but I promise that it's worth it. So take a deep breath, gather your bearings, and I hope to see you for the guided reading for book 22. See ya.